putting together some additional layouts from the pieces that we have left from our first set of layouts. So I want you to grab this blue textured paper. It has the plaid on the back, and we actually want to grab our deco trimmer. Your deco trimmer might be white. That's the newer color, and Creative Memories actually discontinued it, which is so sad. I want to do about a 1-inch cut, but I'm going to do actually maybe a little less because on this side of the swell, it stands up a little taller. So I'm centering it between 1 square up, 1 square down. I'm actually at the 3/4. And then for this piece left, this piece should have been for you about 8 inches. Yeah, so I have 8 inches there, and I want to cut 6 inches off of this. It's going to leave me, it should leave me about an inch or so, a little more than an inch of the swell. I have the pumpkin border, which we'll use. I have my vellum. This is the orange vellum. I need 2 half-inch pieces. And then for a pumpkin, we have a pumpkin print. It should be a full sheet. The back of it is kind of a textured yellow and orange. I want an 8-inch piece, so I can also just cut off 4 inches. My 2 base papers, I'm using wild oats again. We talked about previously, if you want to use white, use the regular white, not the bright white. It's a little bit creamier. We have the border with the wagon that we're going to orient to the top of the left page. We have our 2 swell pieces. One of them we're going to tuck over here, and one of them is going to tuck underneath here. Right here at about a 1/4 inch off the edge. And then I have my piece of orange vellum. Which would here at about 1.5. And then you're going to have about 2.5 inches down this side. So the vellum here, you could layer it over the top of them, but you're going to see it because you can see through the vellum. So it's better just to adhere on top of the blue. The other option is if you want to push this wider, you can adhere the wave or swell, then the vellum, and the print next to it. If you do this so it doesn't layer, you're going to see more of the orange pop through because the wild oats is light. And then on this side, instead of layering that, you could tuck the 1/2 inch up there if you like that. So you can kind of choose. We have this largest statement border up here because we only have 1 border left of this. So it makes it a little awkward. You can't really make the same page, mirror image pages. So we're gonna have this focus point up here. We're replicating some of the swell from the border with a deco trimmer. And then we end up with a large space to put photos over here. And then we can bring our pumpkins, tie the pumpkins up here down to here. So decide how you like best this layering. I think I like this, just having them all sit by side instead of layering them. So I'm going to start by adhering on the outside. And this was about 1/4 inch off the right. Oh, I just did that backwards. Okay. Paying too much attention to my straight edge. Whoopsie. Turn that around. 1/4 inch from the edge. I'm going to adhere my vellum. I am using the vellum tape runner. Not too bad. I'm just using as little as possible and trying to make sure it doesn't bubble up. And then my pumpkin piece, which is 8 inches. I'm going to adhere beside. And then I'm realizing that these are not straight. Something got crooked here. So this is the moment in time that you have to reconcile that. I was lining up based on the right measurements, but I definitely need to line up based on the left. So this is at 1.5. So if there's a discrepancy, it's going to be out here with the swell, which is less noticeable. I do need to make sure that this is straight to keep the layering straight this way. So this is at 1.5. Move my vellum over. And then now this should line up straight along the edge. So it's helpful to use a 13-inch cutting mat or some sort of ruler. Get your pieces lined up. And then for this side, if it helps to get it closer to you, you can turn it, bring it down here next to you. So I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to have to look at the bottom of my border, which I could do at 1.5 inches, or this is actually 2.5. And then I could put the vellum underneath it and the blue underneath that. I do want to leave a little bit of a gap. I don't want the tips of my pumpkins all the way pushed up. I want to give it a little bit of space, some breathing room. Two and a half. Tape on my vellum. That's not vellum tape. That's my repo tape. Get mixed up by the green. I was trying to find a case that would be for vellum, and green was the one I found, but the problem is our repo refills are green also. So I do need to dig through my stash and find a color that's not green for my vellum. Adhering that 1/2 inch piece of orange vellum. And now I can adhere my swell piece. Just at 3 inches from the edge. That gives us a nice base, lots of room for photos. I did pull out a couple of mats. I like this one with the pumpkins in the center. And I liked it matted on this paper, which has all these colors mixed in. However, to mat this on there, I'm kind of I'm losing the whole middle. So I always like to cut out the middles. I only need about a ½ inch or so to layer, but I usually can kind of go out to about 3/4 inch, and then I just eyeball it. I have the white line here on the side of my blade, so I just eyeball from the top and bottom, get myself a distance from the edge. So even if I don't use it on this layout, I have extra. It's nice to keep for another layout. And I can adhere this on here, and I can either use tape around the edge, mini tape, or I could use photo tape on the back. Tape chips would work. I have my mini tape runner in a red container. This can be placed wherever works best for your journaling. You could also put a photo on here. It has the lines, but you could easily fit a small photo there. Just let the lines be part of the decoration if you don't have a lot to journal. And then what do we have left? We have this piece of 4x6. We can cut this into two for 4x6 mats. We also have this color, which could be mats also. This is already 6 inches, so I can just cut 4x6. So lots of room for photos here. Or just fill up your space. If you trim your photos slightly smaller than 4x6 and you can put them here, you can also grab some cardstock and do wider mats if you want to accent them against the base even further. So lots of choices there. So that is the first bonus layout. For second bonus layout, I have the border stickers. I have a piece of the green vellum. Should have this piece of the tree foliage, which is about 5.5. And we have the two pieces. These are full sheets of kind of green plaid that have apples on the back. And we have some variety mats. And we also have this scrap piece of paper from the trees, which is 3 by, well, we're going to cut it down to 6, so about 3x6. So we're going to use I think maybe it's called green sweater, whatever this print is, as our base paper. We're going to cut the leaves paper down to 5.25 by 11. Just cut 1 inch off the bottom. And we're going to cut this one down to 6 inches. This 3 by 6. I'm going to adhere these off the edge. We want to have room for the sticker, so about 3/4 of an inch. And that puts this side at about 6 inches. This is the 6-inch line is the important one to line up with because the other side's going to be hidden under the sticker. And we're going to center it top to bottom. It's about 1/2 inch from the top, 1/2 inch from the bottom. And then we're going to take our hiking boot sticker and adhere this up the edge. On this side, we're doing the same thing, except we have 3 pieces to adhere. These are a little wider, so it's not going to be 6 inches. It's coming over to about 5 1/4. You're not going to have quite as much space. Again, this is the line that is more important to line up. Double check yourself, make sure you have them lined up the way you want. Always pull out your T-ruler also. We're at 5 1/4. I'll check myself. I probably should have gotten this out to begin with. Slightly off. Which you're not really going to tell unless you're putting fat, using up all the space to the left with big photos. And then we're going to adhere the other boot print sticker up the right side. With our dark green vellum, we can make some 4 by 6 mats. This should be about 8 inches. Yeah, it is about 8 inches. You could cut it in half. You can use these mats alternating with 4 by 6 photos on this side if you have them. So if you have 3 horizontal 4 by 6 photos, I would suggest you could put the vellum in the middle. You could do photo at the top, photo at the bottom, put vellum in the middle, and then cut one of the photos down slightly to mat inside the vellum. Again, I'm using my 13-inch mat. Put that in the middle. On this side, we don't have 6 inches. So either you're going to cut down, you could do something similar. I mean, you could cut down the 4x6 vellum to like 4x5 1/4 if you have a photo to fit there. You could also do horizontal photos. You could do a 4x6 on one and then put a dark green mat below that one and trim down your photo a little bit. So the vellum gives you some flexibility to kind of choose where you want them as your mats and cut them down if needed, or alternate them with large photos. You also have this space over here that you can put photos. You could do it in the center, the bottom, the top, and then have your other one here somewhere. So definitely some options with that. And then for decorating, further, you have some stickers. And as you know, stickers I usually don't put on until I'm done at the very end. But we do have this maple leaf that could be decorated. So again, this could be for a photo if you don't have a lot to decorate. Journal. You don't want to journal. You could use this for a photo. You could also journal inside the maple leaf, or it could just be an accent mat. I'll leave some space for journaling, but we can definitely decorate part of the leaves. So a scenic route would be a nice little trail sign. Would they go with the hiking boots? Lots of choices. We have hiking boots and a map here would go with the theme. And then you could choose beautiful views, crisp fall days. Autumn adventures would be cute. If you do journal up here, you could put autumn adventures would be cute up here, or a smaller photo, or you could put it down here or over there and kind of journal in the center. Definitely like to take fall walks, and I always take pictures. So some options there. And I love these stickers. They're really pretty. It's just hard for me to commit before I actually have photos on the page. If you do journal up here too, you could stick some of these pumpkins in the corner. If you just do one photo over here, you could do like a smaller square photo down here or something cut with a circle. So this is bonus layout number 2. Yes, I pulled out the extra pieces of the leaf print, the red vellum. This is also leaf print on the back. And I have some wood grain and I have the 2 borders. So the concept is we're going to cut all of these in half and then layer them on each side. So this piece is 4 inches. This one is 2. Your vellum is going to be a little bit bigger than mine if you didn't make a mistake, because I made a mistake and had to recut. So we're going to cut, mine is not even 7 inches. Yours should be probably is about 8. I think I'm going to do 3 1/4 for these. And then your wood grain piece, we're going to cut 2, 2, 1, and 1. So that should be 6 inches. So our 2-inch strip will get cut down to 1 inch. It's always trickiest cutting the skinny ones. We have a 4-inch, we're going to cut down to 2. The vellum, like I said, we're going to do 3 1/4. You're welcome to just cut in half whatever you have if you want to use it all up. And then we have our wood grain piece for 1, 1, and 2. Mine is a little fatter than that, so I need to trim this down to 2. Like I got an extra 1/4 inch or so. So let's layer our pieces, see how it works out. I think I want my borders on the wood. These are really fat borders. They're really pretty, but they're really fat. But they do have some layering, so it makes it a little bit of a challenge because we're gonna have to push them to one side or the other of the layout because you don't really want to layer your photos over them. You're gonna have that hump. Or if you chose to do that, you could pull off the layering piece that's under wherever you might overlap it. See how they look at the bottom. We have a few choices to make. I know I want the wood grain on the top. We have the leaves, and we also have this piece, so we can decide if we want to see skinny leaves and fat texture. If we did that, I'd probably flip these for a little bit of balance. Or you could put that in the middle to bridge between the two. Like we said, it's a little awkward with the layering, so we'd want to push them to one side or the other, which keeps all this pushed down. So it will give you some extra space at the top. But we could always fill that in with some mats. So I pulled out these mats. There's some with the leaves, they're 4x6, or this side would coordinate well if you like that side for journaling. Even if you don't want to journal on these, it can make a nice little photo mat. If you don't want your photo right next to the leaf print, you could use either brown shimmer or hot fudge cardstock to do a thin photo mat to use these. And then of course we have these, which is kind of a yellow texture, or you can use the yellow plaid. So personal preference there. You also layer these if you wanted to. Again, lots of options. It's kind of hard to narrow down the choices without the photos. So I think I like my design set like this. So I'm going to start adhering it from the bottom up. I'll do my border last. So I'll go ahead and put the wood grain on. I'm going to make sure my base paper first is lined up on the 13x13 mat. I'm going to adhere a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the vellum. And the texture. Oh, I do this all the time. Sometimes I wish I had real big clips to keep my base paper on the mat. So we're just adhering from the bottom up. The leaf print, and then the 1-inch piece of wood grain. And I can hear my border on the center. Repeat on this side. Pinch from the bottom. You do them side by side. You can kind of make sure you're at the same center points for their layout. And my wood grain piece is blending in with the wood grain of my desk. Final piece here along the top. It's a real simple layout. It's kind of how the layout started in the project booklet. Just showing off these beautiful papers in linear fashion. So I did continue that theme throughout using the rest of our leftovers. This really stretches out the paper. Excuse me, I think we're going to get like 8 layouts by the time we're done with this. I won't adhere these until I'm confident about my photos, but like I said, you can do 4x6 photos on these. If you want these to be the same size side by side, you can mat these on another sheet of cardstock to pop them out against the base. You can put photos on here too. And then if you have space up here, you can do a little accent corner. So if I was committing this mat up here, and I'll just use a little repo tape just to keep it in place in case I change my mind later. And then I could pull out my stickers and create something up here. The little wheelbarrow cluster. I'm a little hesitant, like I said, to commit the stickers because I haven't finished these layouts and I'm not totally sure what the pictures I have, but the chair would fit nicely up here. You have a nice space to create embellishment cluster up there. That is the third bonus layout. Our fourth bonus set, we should have full sheets of wood grain in this blue textured we're going to use as our base papers, and then we're just going to use up a bunch of our mats. So we have these 4.5 by 6.5 mats. We have this one, which I love with all the words on there. We have a partial piece of the border from previously. We have this mat with the pumpkins, this mat, which is super cute with the truck. I have this scrap. It came out, I cut out one of the insides of the mats earlier. And then I have this sheet of the, I think it was teal. I've already forgotten the names of all the vellum colors. Probably teal. So I'm going to cut this down to a 4.5 by 6.5 mat for here. And I could do one here too, or I could layer pieces behind there. So this sheet, I think we only cut a couple strips off it. Yeah, you have 10 inches. I'm going to turn it sideways. And I'm going to cut a 6.5. Because that's going to let me get two 4.5 by 6.5 mats here. So 4.5. Four and a half, and then there's a 1-inch piece. So the vellum will kind of take it up the size to match the other mats. Add some layering in there. You have a choice over here. So these mats have openings for journaling. I don't know about you, but I take a lot of vertical photos sometimes of fall foliage, and so I was thinking that I could print those smaller to cut them down. Put photos there. I could put two side by side. So they would be about 2.25 inches wide and then about 3 inches tall or so. So before you adhere these, do you have two horizontal ones you could minimize and print? I use the Project Life app. Or you can do vertical photos. So you could alternate it with this one if you wanted to do horizontal, vertical down here. And then so I have a little bit of vellum left I can use for layering. I don't want to stick the whole sheet in here. I don't really have any papers left that it will go with, so I was thinking I might as well stick it in this layout somehow. I could go ahead and adhere this mat to this vellum mat. I don't want to have them side by side. I think it looks a little awkward like that, so I was trying to layer them, offset them a little bit. So if my border is down here in the corner, about 1/4 inch off the corner, and this mat could be tucked in here more like 1/2 inch off the bottom, and I could still go 1/4 inch off that corner. I can use regular tape as long as it's hiding behind the mat. I don't have to use vellum tape. If you don't want to use this mat, if you have a lot of photos, you can definitely dump it. You could use this for another cluster up here. You could cut a journaling box or something else up there if you need a title space. For this sheet of vellum, to use this up, bring it over. It's about 3/8 from the edge and then about 5 inches from the bottom, or I could push it up a little bit. Just kind of depends on how you want to layer. I'm going to go 5 inches from the bottom and about 3/8 over from the edge. You could also double mat this if you wanted to have a little bit more of an edge on it. I'm going to hear this layer the plaid piece first. So about a 1/4 inch. The way it is, I just kind of blend into my base, which might be preferable for now. If I mat this in another color, it's really going to pop and draw attention to that color. Right now we have a kind of a subtle layering going on with the vellum. So I probably won't mat it yet. I'll wait and see how the layout goes. But I have this room for photos and then journaling here. And then this is optional if I want to actually put it down or use it as a spot for a photo. So you don't have to use this mat. This could definitely be a photo spot. If you did use it as a photo spot, I would get another mat to put your photo on. I don't know that I would use green because I don't have any green over here, but you can see where you could fit in a larger mat, and then say this was your 4x6 photo, you could layer it on there. So I probably wouldn't go with green because you really only have a little bit of green over here. I think it kind of changes the color balance. I'd probably go with like brown shimmer, something brown, because you have so much brown over here. That leaves you this little 1-inch piece of vellum. So when you're finishing out your layout over here with your photos, you could adhere it at the top if you wanted to create a cluster. You could layer it down here if you had maybe a photo or something you wanted to just layer it behind. So hold on to this piece. I would keep it with these mats and adhere it somewhere depending on your photos. So that is that bonus layout. That brings us to our last layout. What do we have left? Kind of have a hodgepodge. We have red mats. We have some green mat. I love fall most of all. Circles on the back. We have 2 leaf border stickers. We have the trimmings from that layout we did a little bit ago. I grabbed 2 dark green sheets of cardstock for a base. We have some vellum scraps from our circle, and then we have a full sheet of this leaf print. So I thought that we would use the dark green as our base, and then we would cut this down to 11 inches, probably by 6, so 6 by 11 is what I'm guessing. And then we'll cut out some circles from here and layer them. So I don't really have, I'm not sure where this is going to go completely. So we're just going to play and see what happens. I was thinking, I know I want to make this smaller, like 11 inches, but instead of cutting it in half and then cutting it down to 11, I was like, well, I could preserve some strips of the yellow if I cut that down to 11 first. So I could just cut off an inch, but anything I would do, I would probably want 2 of. So I'm going to cut it down to 2 1/2-inch pieces. So if I want to flip it, I have that yellow pattern on the back. I'm going to turn it and cut it in half at 6. Then I'm going to look at my vellum. So I have a couple of options on the cutting system, and then I also have just the circle punch, which would be easy. So what kind of circles can you get out of what you have? You just want to make sure you can get 2 of whatever you have left. So you have whatever you do, you have 1 on each side. When I go for whatever you have the biggest, you can get. So this one is the middle of 2. I could get a couple on the inside with the red blade. Punch one down here. Now we need a second one, but I might be able to get the second one from up here. We'll see. If it layers, I might not have to have a full one. Leaves me a little space here. I'll wait and see if I want more. Like I said, I don't totally know what I'm going to do with the circles. I'm going to layer them somewhere. This one I have a little bit more space. I still would not be able to get outside. I think the inside of that would be tight unless I go down to like a blue blade. So I have 7 inches. 3.5. So the inside of this is within 3.5 inches. So whatever I do, I could replicate here, especially if I cut it down. So why don't I just go ahead and use the blue blade? These are a little bit bigger than those. And I could do smaller ones, or we can kind of see how it goes, or I could punch some. I could do the inside of this one. This is the number 2. We could use the green blade. Two dark green bases. 2 6 by 11 pieces of the foliage. It's interesting is trying to think about how to use this and this. These obviously will have to be spread apart because they're so similar in color. I could just put these along the bottom completely. Push that up a little bit. Have this piece. And do I want to use my circles? Where would I put the circles? This would be a great room for photos. This is a fat sticker, so this sticker is going to push up to about 1.5 inches. So you'd either be layering, you could layer your photos over it. You're going to have 1, 2, 3, about 3.5 for photos. So if you do 4, you could just layer it. I think that would be cute. Just if you mat your photos. Then we have the circles, which could just create kind of a collage behind whatever you end up doing. Other thing I think about is rounding the top corners of this. So I have my corner rounder. There's a little bit more design to it. Adhere a 1/2 inch from the top. It's going to be 1/2 inch from each side. It might be more like 3/8 from the top. If you're not sure you have it lined up, I can always turn it to you and grab your T-ruler. Double check either top or bottom. Sometimes it looks so straight, and then you get your ruler out, and you're like, I really should not have eyeballed that. Um, yeah, I'm slightly off. It's actually not that much, but I could pull it slightly down. And then I'm going to adhere this piece down. Let's do 6.5. And start it quite at the edge though. Start over a little bit closer to this edge, just hanging off that edge. And then repeat it over here. One around my top 2 corners. See how I did on this one? It looks straight, eyeballing it, but I can check with my T-ruler. Yeah, pretty good. And then 6.5 for here. Back around. It gives you my stickers along the bottom. I'm going to push these points of the leaves all the way to the bottom of the page because it's so fat. I think about photos and mats and my circles. Four by six will fit perfectly down here at the bottom. From this one down to like 4x5. With that, this is the only 4x6 mat we have left, which is fine. Then we have like this one, which is 4.5 by 6.5. So if I wanted to layer with my circles, I can also do 2 on each side. That will really add accent to maybe this is like a special photo here in the middle. That's really cute. I like that. I have this green one too, or a journaling box. I know I will never have that much to journal. When I take a walk, it's all about the pictures, but I could also put a photo matted in the center of that, so I could just replicate this on each side. Hopefully I have horizontal photos. Then I would cluster my photos down here. That leaves the red. It's up to you. I think the red gets a little Christmassy for me. So maybe I try to stick those on some other layout. We also still have these little pieces, but I could also work on sticking those on some other layout when we go back through. You have a little bit of vellum too, so depending on what you do for photos, I mean, you could cut out smaller circles, you could punch some. If you wanted to maybe like, if this was a photo, you know, you could have a small circle in there. Just use that up. I think we've used all the other colors of vellum up, but if we do have any scraps left, you could obviously cut some other colors out and tuck those up in there too. So my vellum. You want to center this mat in the middle. You can look at the 3 and the 9 at the top, and this mat is going to be about 1/4 inch on each side. You can always just put a little repo in the middle. That's where you think it will go. And you can check your vellum in behind it. Here we go. There's our bonus layout. For the final step, I'm going to walk through all the layouts and show you how I did my final embellishment. For the first set of layout, you remember I was debating between two pieces of border. I ended up just using one. I'm going to dedicate this side to journaling in the border and leave this space open for photos. I used some of the extra vellum in the custom cutting system to cut out these circles. This is the number 2 with the red blade on the inside. I cut out these circles here. And then I used the circle punch with some orange shimmer to create some layering for the circle stickers on the sticker page. I also added in a couple of circles down here from leftover vellum to kind of create, finish off the side between the two. Second set of layouts, this one's probably still the most undecorated. The stickers I had left weren't speaking to me so much as being obvious to this layout. I'm not really sure what pictures I'll put on here. They don't really necessarily have to be fall. So I added the small stickers that coordinated from the set and otherwise just left it plain. Remember for layout number 3, we do still have this title sticker, the Thankful, Grateful, Blessed. I could put sections of it above the mats, assuming I still use these mat sizes. Nothing else to add there. For the fourth set of layout, I did create a sticker cluster here. I added some leaf stickers around the circles. Of the leftover mats, this color was left and I realized it would work perfectly with this layout, so I stuck it here. And then I left this one open for a photo, but I did stick a little leaf sticker in there. For layout number 5, I created a sticker cluster down here on this piece of leftover mat. And I think I added in maybe this mat behind here. I can't remember if I had that one originally did it or not. I haven't adhered this yet because I could still shift this, but probably adhere it tucked into here. For this layout, we had the dark green vellum mats, but I also found this red mat in the leftover pile that coordinated with this red one. So I have it loose here, it can go top or bottom. I also will end up having an extra dark green vellum. If I use 2 over here, so I could pull this one up and put it top, and then I could do bottom. So I would trim down photos to fit 4x6 on these two, and then I could have a full 4x6 size there in the middle. On this side, I also created some stickers, clusters around the leaves, like a journal in the leaf, scenic route, some hiking boots, autumn adventures. Again, with the extra mats, I realized I had the red, which would pop out some of the red here. I put fall days up here for a little title with a tree sticker. I punched a rustic truck out of brown shimmer, and then I punched some pumpkins out of the extra vellum with the gourd punch. Over here, I mat this 4x6 mat on a thin white to kind of pop that off the page. I really love the colors of this one. For this layout, I cut some 4.5 by 6.5 brown shimmers, so they will fit nicely for these leaf mats. If I do decide I want to journal on one of them, I could use the back side. They both have lines. I didn't adhere them just to give me a little bit of flexibility. Up here in the top left, we had a long strip of this yellow cable knit paper, so I made a banner tag for the gather sticker and then added the foliage for family and friends. This one I feel like feels like Thanksgiving. And then my final layout, I was getting a little low on stickers that I wanted to use, so I did reach into my stash and pulled out some embellishments from the Hello Autumn collection, the large leaves, and then I used some of the small leaf stickers. This one also is out of Hello Autumn. Down here, I decorated my mat with some stickers and a strip from the yellow cable knit. So those are all my layouts. And for scraps, what should you have left? not much. We have some extra vellum, maybe a strip or two of paper from trimming, maybe a banner piece, a piece of red vellum, which I only because I messed up on that, but I did punch the pumpkins out. And then some stickers that you can use depending on what photos you use. So thanks for joining me. This was a really fun project, and now we have 9 layouts, 18 pages ready for all of our fall photos.